Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to today's workshop. It is titled Build Your Professional Brand. In this workshop, we're going to spend some time exploring the concept of a professional brand and how it can help build your career. You'll learn how a personal brand and career story can help you quickly let potential employers, clients, collaborators know who you are and what you bring to the table. Then we'll talk about simple steps that you can take to start building your brand. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk about what professional branding can mean for your career, and how it's never too early or too late to start building your professional brand. We'll start by covering what a professional brand is and how companies use their professional or their brands to build trust with customers and clients. Then we'll talk about how building your professional brand can help you grow your career, no matter what type of work you are doing. And then after that, we'll go over 3 steps that you can take to build your professional brand: defining your brand, building your online presence, and growing your network. So let's get started. Let's think about a company that you like. Maybe it's a restaurant, a clothing brand, or a particular product you enjoy. So with that company that you have in mind, what images and feelings do you associate with the company? Who do you think their ideal customer and client or target audience is? What sets their product or service apart from their competitors? How does their advertising make you feel? How do they maintain consistency in their advertising? So when I think of a company, I like to use Coca-Cola as an example. What images or feelings do you associate with the company? Well, in the wintertime, it's the polar bear ads that they run. In the summertime, it's their on a lake type ads, or just having a nice bottle of Coca-Cola at the fair, whatever types of ads those are. So they have a very year-round advertising campaign for their company. Their ideal customer, without going into the nitty gritty and actually looking into their market research, because that's proprietary. Their ideal customer is pretty much anyone between 18 to 34 is their target demographic typically, because that's how their ads tend to skew. Um, how does their product or service, how is it apart from their competitors? Their major competitor is Pepsi. They're up against steep competition. I mean, Pepsi has a long history, just like Coca-Cola, with their advertising. When it comes to like using celebrity power, whether it's like Britney Spears or Cindy Crawford, like those are big names, and those were big names at the time that they were used for their competitors. So kind of what sets them apart, they're kind of fighting for the same market share. How does their advertising make you feel? With their summer ads, it definitely makes you feel refreshed, things like that. With their winter ads, it kind of brings the joy and whimsy of the winter time, especially with the polar bear ads that they do. And then how do they maintain consistency in their advertising? They run very similar ads, or they have those key aspects to their ads that they use year round. They might tweak what the ad says a little bit, or change the setting, but they're still using that polar bear family, or they're still using that lakefront beach party type thing. All right, so how do companies build brands? Companies hire marketing professionals to help them build their brands. In fact, a company logo, advertising language, and even the colors and fonts they use in advertising are considered part of the branding. But brand isn't just built by deliberate choices. It's also built over time as a result of the experiences people have when they interact with a product or service. Even what they hear about the company or an organization from other people can impact the brand. So You're a person, not a company. So what's branding have to do with your career? Just as company brands communicate their qualities and offerings, you can build a brand to market yourself and as you grow your career. Your professional brand is made up of a unique combination of your career story, along with your qualities, skills, and experiences. It's a way of letting potential employers, educational institutions, colleagues, clients, and even mentors get a sense of who you are and what you have to offer. Now, a few slides back, you thought of a company, and I asked several questions about how you perceived their brand. You can ask similar questions about your personal brand. For example, what images and feelings do you want people to associate with you and your work? What qualities do you want potential employers, clients, or collaborators to know that you possess? Who is your ideal employer, client, or customer? What sets you apart from people in the same industry or this or a similar career path? And how can you maintain brand consistency in your marketing, whether it's your website, social media presence, or in-person interactions? While you won't necessarily have paid advertisements or shopping bags with your logo on them, you will have a resume and social media accounts, which should also reflect your professional brand. As you meet people in the field, in your field, and build your network, a strong professional brand will help you leave a lasting impression. Strong branding is helpful for everyone who in the job market, but is even more crucial if you want to start your own business or launch a freelance career. A great brand can help freelancers, self-employed people, and small business owners attract customers and gain opportunities. So now that we're getting a sense of what professional branding can mean for you as an individual, try applying the same questions to a person in the public eye. Think of a public figure that you admire. They can be a performer, an activist, a political figure, or just anyone in the public eye. Now take a few moments to think about their brand. What images and feelings do you associate with them? What qualities do they possess? Who do you think their ideal customer, client, or target audience is? And what sets them apart from people in the same industry or on a similar career path? And then how do they maintain brand consistency in their marketing projects or appearances? The answers to all of these questions reflect this person's brand. So for example, I like to use Taylor Swift as the public figure. So what images does Taylor Swift associate with them? Well, you have their concerts, their music, their album covers, even just photos of not them personally. They like to leave Easter eggs on things for their fans to kind of guess what their next album's going to be or their next theme. She really has built a following over the years and is definitely fan focused. So what qualities do they possess? They tend to have a female empowerment aspect to them, which has brought in a lot of people to and attracted them to her music. She also tends to kind of be a little low key in certain aspects of her life. It's kind of hard with her big spotlight, but she kind of does have like you don't know much. You know who her mom and her dad is, but you don't necessarily know much more about that. You definitely know who she's dating at the time. That's a part of her brand too. Who is her ideal customer, client, or target audience? Similar to Coca-Cola in terms of age range, 18 to 34 is kind of on the high end of her target audience. She tends to lean more to the teen to young adult demographic. What sets them apart? They are very big on making their work ethic known. Like I mentioned, those Easter eggs, not every artist does that, kind of creating a Taylor Swift lore, so to speak. And how do they build brand consistency? She is on top of the brand that she wants to portray like no other. So she has complete control over her brand and the consistency with that. Okay. So just like your favorite company has integrated their brand into everything they do, their advertising, social media, in-person experiences, even as something as what we would consider minimal as their fonts and color choices and logo, you can do the same with your professional brand. From your resume to social media posts to networking conversations, even interactions that you have um, are an opportunity to let people know what you have to offer. So that's what your brand is all about. It explains your background, your skills, your passions and interests, and what sets you apart from others on the job market, and lets people know why you should work for, or why they want to work with you, I should say. Sorry. So typically when we come to branding, I'm going to get a little ahead of myself, but typically when we talk about branding on your resume, it's that consistency of your name, your contact information. That is going to be the same across all documents that you submit. So your resume, your cover letter, any reference sheets that you supply, any sort of works that you have done if they're asking for you to provide a portfolio of things that you have done. Any sort of academic research, if you've done any of that, that kind of stuff, they all should have that consistent heading at the top. All right. So in this section, we'll go over three major steps that you can take to build your brand. And this is all stuff that you can start today on. So we're going to talk about defining your brand, building your online presence, and growing your network. So the first step is defining your brand. So I'm going to lead you through some exercises that will help you get a better understanding of your professional brand as you create what we call your brand statement. Sometimes it's also called a professional summary. In this section or in the second and third steps, you'll learn about actions that you can start taking immediately after this workshop to start building your brand. So for this step, I recommend using a pad or paper, or you can just think about these questions, come back to it later, review the recording, whatever helps you build your brand statement. So the first step towards communicating your brand is to figure out your brand statement. Now, your brand statement will be one or two sentences. It's not a lengthy paragraph or anything like that. And this brand statement is something that will quickly let someone get to know you and your work. It tells them about your career or educational history and lets them know where your career is heading. You'll use your brand statement to communicate key information about you to potential employers, clients, and other collaborators. You may include it on your resume if in your professional networking emails or doing in-person conversations. This is a good elevator pitch for people. In a few moments, you'll write down your brand statement. So to make it simpler, we'll start by focusing on your career story. So a significant part of your brand statement will be telling your career story. Your career story helps people understand who you are, where you come from, and what you have to offer. Like all good stories, it's important to start at the beginning. Now, have you ever noticed that in movies about a superhero or supervillain, the audience almost always learns the hero's origin story so they can understand why they behave the way they do? Your career story serves a similar purpose. Your life and work experiences have made you the person you are and contribute to the way you approach your career. You can start your career story by talking about the experiences that have made you want to go into your career. For instance, if you're a parent of a special needs child and went into teaching as a result of that experience, you'll probably have a very specific point of view about your work in the classroom. Or if you're a college student who has been deeply involved in environmental activism, you'll definitely bring that unique perspective to a job in city planning. Your career story may also include time away from work. Lots of people have experienced breaks in employment, especially during the pandemic. That was a huge time when a lot of people were getting laid off. That's very common to have a break in employment at that point. So some have taken, but in addition to that, some have taken time away to raise children, care for a family member, or any number of personal reasons. Um, so don't let a break in employment keep you from applying for the job you want. They are part of your career story too. Just be prepared to discuss your breaks in employment with the recruiter or the hiring manager. If you spent time away from work, but you are volunteering, taking classes, or gaining other valuable skills, be ready to share that information in an interview. So now that we've talked about your past, let's talk about your future. Sharing your professional goal will help people know where you're headed and may help them decide that they want to work with you. The parent who has gone into teaching, who I mentioned in the last slide, may have a goal of helping other educators meet the needs of all their students. Now, keep in mind your professional goal is likely going to change over time. People often make decisions to make changes in the careers, and often their goals change along with them, and that is okay. On the next slide, we'll write your goals as you understand them today. Now, I will add in a little aspect to this. Now, with your professional goal, it is always great to have a professional goal. I cautious anyone who is adding a professional goal to their brand statement to make sure that it's not leading towards what we used to call on a resume an objective statement. Now, the objective statement used to list to obtain a job in this career field because XYZ. We have now moved to this brand statement because it provides more information to the employer than what the objective statement does. Because to be quite frank, the objective statement is the reason why you're applying for the job. It didn't do anything on the resume. So now that we have this professional summary, so just be very cautious when you're adding that goal where you're avoiding words like obtain and yeah, and other similar words to that, just because it can lead a little bit into objective statements where we don't want to lead into. So let's talk about career and professional goals. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to combine your career story and your professional goal if you're working on this along with me. If you're going to come back to this, that is totally fine. I'll just read through the question. But remember, remember you can always come back and write more. I even had it in my script. If you don't have a lot of experience in your field yet, for example, you're a new graduate or changing careers, you can still talk about what's motivating you to seek this new career and what your ultimate goal is once you launch your career. Now, here are a few questions to get you started. What events led you to become interested in this type of work? Who influenced you along the way? If you could accomplish anything, what would it be? What is one important problem or issue you're looking to improve or address? And what is the first big step you'd like to take towards your dream career? So I'll give you a couple minutes to just think about these questions. You don't have to write anything down, but especially I like those first two. What led you to become interested in this type of work and who influenced you along the way? We all have people in our career history who have been great influencers for us, whether it's a former manager or a current former manager, a colleague, even from our personal lives. When we ask our friends about our career, who has maybe influenced us along the way? Those first two questions are very important for your professional goal, as well as the last three. Okay, so to complete your brand statement, you'll need a few more details that describe the way you do things. The first step will be to make a list of things you want, yes, the things you want a potential employer, school, or coworker to know about you. Now, these qualities you possess, like being honest or hardworking, or they can be specific skills you have or activities that you're involved in, like community organizing, volunteer work, activism, athletics, anything like that. Now, if you're stuck, think about words other people use to describe you. Do they enjoy your sense of humor? Do they envy your organizational skills? Do they seek you out when they need to talk through tough issues? Now, when you made your list, circle and highlight the top three qualities, skills, or talents that you'd like to share with your potential employer or collaborator. It's possible, if possible, choose the ones that most influence the way you approach your career. Now, these qualities, skills, and talents combined with your career story, can form the basis of your professional brand. Now, I'll give you 2 minutes to list all the qualities, skills, and talents, as well as activities that you can think of, and then circle the top three. Um, you can always continue your list after this workshop, or if you're coming back and watching the recording later, you can work on your list then. But for those who are following along, I'll give like a minute or two. Right. So now is the time that you're going to write your brand statement. Now, keep in mind it's only 1 or 2 sentences. Now, it includes the career story, the goals, and the personal qualities and skills that you've discussed. Now, your brand statement should give people a sense of who you are, where you're coming from, and what special thing that you have to offer. Now, here are a few examples. I'm a trained improv comic who uses humor to get young people excited about STEM fields. I'm a journalist who brings attention to important issues in the community. I'm a recent graduate looking to bring my attention to detail to an administrative job in the finance industry. I'm a former short order cook opening my own food truck to make delicious, healthy foods available to people in the community. So all of those are somewhat solid brand statements. They're good starting points. Now, as I have mentioned, your brand statement is a great first step towards building your professional brand. As you start to communicate your brand on your website, blog, social media presence, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you have access to for your professional brand, as well as in-person conversations, find opportunities to incorporate your brand statement. Now, as I previously mentioned as well, your brand statement is your great elevator pitch during networking events or when someone asks you the dreaded "tell me about yourself" question. That's what you can answer those questions with. Now, also know that your brand statement grows and changes with you. So refine it over time. Review it before interviews, networking events, or before you post online about your career or a business if you want to go freelance. So, as I was alluding to earlier, the dreaded "tell me about yourself" question. This is something that is most likely, if not 100% of the time, going to be one of the first questions that you're going to hear in a job interview, or even a networking event or any other professional context. It can feel like a large general question that it can be hard to answer. Now, if someone asks you to talk about yourself in an interview, you can share your professional brand along with any additional skills, qualities, interests, or talents that apply to the role or potential collaboration that you're interviewing for. All right, so we've defined your brand. Congratulations. Now you can start building it. You've started to build your brand. It can help you speak and write about yourself as a potential employee. Now think about all the ways that you can use your brand statement to market yourself as a potential future employee or collaborator. Think of ways that you can incorporate that brand into your marketing materials, including your resume, cover letter, business cards, website, in-person conversations, blogs, and social media posts. So now we're going to talk about how you can start communicating that brand online. So let's talk about the incredibly powerful tool for communicating your brands to other people, and that is the internet. Your online presence should be an extension of the impression you make when you meet someone in person. So, in other words, if your brand statement describes you as a hardworking, determined, and community-minded former line cook who is opening up a food truck, people should get the impression of you when they read your posts on social media and when you come in for that in-person interview. So let's talk about how you can promote your brand online with something you're likely already doing, posting on social media. So most of us participate in some form of social media, like I had mentioned, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, blog sites, having our own website, anything like that. No matter which social media platform you use, it's important to understand that everything you put online will affect how people view you and then will impact your professional brand. So no matter what your brand is, make sure your tone on social media is always professional and positive. Whether whether what you post is open to the general public or private account, it still reflects your personal and professional brand. So I always caution, I don't know, I can't see who is on the call today, but I always caution, especially new grads, really do a scrub of your social media posts when you are applying to jobs because you definitely want to make sure your college partying days are not necessarily the first thing that a potential employer sees. I will be discussing a little bit earlier or a little bit later. Employers do sometimes do social media checks on their potential future employees. So it's always good to make sure that the brand that you're presenting, even on your personal social media sites, is a professional and personal tone. Okay, so let's talk about choosing the right platform. So building a following on for your business or professional work on social media may seem very overwhelming at first. But remember, you don't have to be everywhere at once. It's important to pick one or two platforms to start with and then start contributing to them regularly. So in order to choose the right platforms, consider two things: the brand you plan to cultivate and the audience you're trying to reach. Then to decide which platform will best work for meeting both of those goals. So for photo and video sharing sites like Instagram and TikTok, they allow you to post and share photos and videos with friends or the general public. Now, photos and video sharing sites can also be used to build your professional brand, especially if your work is in a field where your work can be presented visually. So photography, for example, is a great industry for that. Another example is if you have a landscaping business, you might want to create a profile to showcase your recent photos of your work. Other examples of professions that can benefit from a profile like this include hairstylists, house painters, performers, artists, and designers of all type. Now, if you own a retail business, photo and video sharing is also a great way to share or to showcase your store's merchandise. So microblogging sites like Twitter allow you to share your thoughts in just a sentence or two. Now, these sites can be a good way for writers and other content creators to communicate with a wider audience and help build your brand. So social networking sites allow you to stay in touch with people you know and meet new people. Now, some social networking sites also allow you to set up a profile for your business, which can be a great way to build your brand. Now, if you set up a business account, make sure that you keep your postings strictly about business. Kind of like how some people, especially if you're looking to start a business, we say don't break the corporate veil or don't pierce the corporate veil. Same thing with your social media. Don't let the personal infiltrate the business and don't let the business infiltrate the personal. It's just the way to keep them separated and then make sure that everything is good and up to par. So let's talk about making and sharing content. So making and sharing content can be a great way to help people learn about you and what you do. People in almost any career can use content to build their brand. For example, a teacher might write a blog post about interesting assignments they've done and given students. An professional might share articles about updates to employment law on a professional networking site. A hairstylist can post before and after photos of happy clients on a photo sharing site. And a real estate agent might use social media to post a list of tips for selling your home quickly. Now remember, you don't always have to create your own content. You can promote the work of people you admire by sharing their posts and articles, share on-brand content made by by other people can be a powerful way to also can be just as powerful as creating your own. Now just remember to always give credit to the creators of their work. Now make the most of your content by cross-promoting it. So if you are using Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, make sure that you're posting it on all of them. When you post something new to one platform, make sure it also fits well on the other platforms. For example, if you write an article online, post a link to your post a link to all your social media. This really comes into play with photos, especially with how with the like dimension structures of different social media platforms. So like Instagram has moved from like it used to be the square on your feed, and now it's more of a rectangle. So make sure that your photo is good in both formats, because Facebook is still more of the square format. So and so is LinkedIn. So just make sure if you're posting on all of those sites that it's something that can be across all platforms, or slightly tweaked to make sure that it's good for all platforms. Okay. So once you've started building your presence online, it becomes important to also consider which parts of your life you don't want to share with the world. Now, this is where privacy comes in. Now, in the next two slides, we'll talk about a few ways that you can protect your brand and yourself by taking these steps to ensure your privacy. Now, when you apply for a new job, as I mentioned there, the chances are very high that a potential employer will search the internet for your name at some point during the interview process, or even the hiring process. They'll want to check to see whether you're a good fit for the company, and also whether you've been participating in any online activities that could embarrass or cause problems for them later on. So back to the example of recent college grads, let's kind of get rid of the partying day phase. We're now entering the professional workforce. So the same thing, make sure you're looking at your privacy settings as well. So in the next exercise, this is completely optional, but I'll give you the chance to see what information is already available out on the web about you. So first, start an incognito window, and this can be in Google Chrome or Firefox or any of the major internet browsers. Incognito mode allows you to search the web without your prior searches or browser history affecting your results. Now, in other words, searching in incognito mode makes your search results more likely to look like the results of someone else who is searching for you online. So we're going to talk about how to do it in Google Chrome. So at the top of the browser, click on File, and then click on New Incognito Window. After the new incognito window opens, navigate to a search engine to perform your search. Like I said, this is optional. So before we get started, again, this exercise is optional. We're going to perform an internet search for yourself. So before you begin your search, make sure that you have privacy and no one else is around you to see your screen, since it's hard to know in advance what kinds of things may come up. Now, this exercise is designed to help you find out what potential employers, collaborators, or educators may see when they search for you online. It will also give you a chance to evaluate whether your internet search results are in line with the professional brand that you're looking to build. So no matter what you find, doing this internet search will allow you to be prepared in case a potential employer, client, or collaborator has questions about your search. So you may find results for other people with your name or your own website or even news articles that feature you. You may not find much at all, and that's totally fine. You may find something positive, like a good review for your business or coverage of a volunteer project you worked on. If so, consider sharing that on social media or a website if you have one. Now, you might also find results that are embarrassing, or you just don't, or it just doesn't feel on brand for you. If that happens, ask yourself, is this something that I have control over? If your search results bring up something that you'd rather people not see if you can delete it. If it's a social media account, sign into the account and change the settings to private. If the content is included on someone else's webpage or social media, you can ask them to see if they can remove it. If your search brings up something that you don't have any control over, like a negative online review of your business, that's good information to have so that you're prepared to address it if necessary. Now, if you want to be able to post things on social media that may not align with your professional brand, set your personal social media accounts to private. Today we've talked about a lot on how to use social media to build your professional brand, but there's no reason you can't also have accounts where you can be casual, share information about all kinds of things and topics, connect with people you care about, or express your opinion freely. It's just as important to remember that when potential employers or colleagues search for you, that they see all um, that they see all accounts that aren't set to private. So if you want to be able to safely share photos of your family, funny cat memes, or anything else that you feel like it doesn't fit your brand or reveals a bit too much about your personal life, setting those accounts to private is a smart move. Your personal social media accounts may not always present a problem when you're looking for a job. For example, if your career is in a field like social media or marketing, having a big social media presence and following may actually work to your advantage. Just keep in mind if you're putting out information or opinions that are too personal in nature or that other people might find controversial, your personal social media accounts could keep you from getting hired or even put your job in jeopardy. So locking down your social media accounts allows you to approve any potential followers or friends on social media before they can see your content and keep everyone else from seeing your posts. So now let's talk about a few other ways that you can manage your privacy online. So Google Privacy Checkup allows you to look through the settings in your Google account and adjust to how much information you allow your account to share. To begin, navigate to the myaccount.google.com/privacy checkup. Google will suggest different privacy settings for you to take a look at. Your privacy checkup will be based on how you use your Google account. So your privacy recommendations may be different than the ones you see here. Now this screen shows the top of the privacy checkup. So scroll down to browse key privacy information or key privacy settings. You can decide which ones you want to review or review them all. So here are a few privacy settings you may want to look at. Start with the Manage What You Share on YouTube tab. In this tab, choose who can see your YouTube videos, playlists, and subscriptions. and decide where you share them. If you've been posting YouTube content that fits your professional brand and you want to see that content, make sure that you check that box. Then look at your YouTube activity feed. You can choose to automatically have your public YouTube activity show up in your channel's activity feed or keep that information private. Now, next, take a look at your Google photo settings. Choose whether you want to remove geolocation from your photos when you share them by link. And finally, click Control What Others to See About You to make sure that you haven't been sharing private information like your home address or phone number with people via your Google profile. This comes into play more if you're using Google for any freelance type work that you do or any business profiles, but it's always good to check it if you're using Google personally, just to make sure everything's in line. So now you've learned several steps you can take to grow your brand online, identifying the right platforms, keeping tabs on your search results, managing your privacy settings on social media accounts, and performing a privacy checkup. Now, building a strong online presence for your professional brand doesn't happen overnight. But with steady progress, smart choices, and consistent monitoring, you can grow your business so that potential employers, collaborators, and clients can learn about what you have to offer and connect with you. So now that you've defined your brand and learned how to spread the word online, the next step is to get as many people as possible familiar with and excited about your brand. Now, this is referred to as growing your network. Now, the people you surround yourself with can help you grow your brand and your career. So start by asking yourself a few questions. Who should I meet in order to continue growing my brand or career? And then what kinds of people should know me and the work that I am doing? The more people you know, the more choices, the more chances you'll have to find new opportunities, learn from others, and share what you know. So let's talk about networking. So once you've identified the kinds of people you want to meet, you can take the steps. You can take steps to start meeting more of them. So this is often called networking. Networking means forming a community of people with shared intention of building each other's careers. Now you can meet people by attending events related to your career or interests, or if you're in school by joining groups or on campus. Now you can get involved with professional organizations in your field, taking an internship, attending a conference, or a mixer of people in your profession. Now, networking is very, very important. We're going to be talking about professional networking on the next slide. 85% of jobs that are out there are actually found through networking. So this is crucial to know and to leverage to your benefit. So now you can grow your network virtually as well by participating in career-related conversations online. So let's start with professional networking sites like LinkedIn or Handshake. Handshake is very common for college students. Professional networking sites allow you to interact with other users as well as companies that are looking to hire. Creating a profile on a site like this can be a great platform for your professional brand. You can build your profile on professional networking sites by following these steps. Showcasing your accomplishments in your field or at school. You can share your volunteer work. You can post articles about your industry, and you can engage in discussions with other people in your field. So another option is finding a mentor. Mentors will play a special role in your career development. A mentor is generally someone who has more experience than you and is willing to share their knowledge to help you grow. You can find mentors in educational settings or even in classes you take outside of work. You may also meet them through friends. Whether you meet them online or in person, you can ask people in your field for an informational interview so that you can always have the opportunities to ask questions about their career or their field or career path. Finally, you can find a mentor at your current job. If you're lucky enough to have a great manager, or if you identify someone else that you think you can learn from, don't be shy about asking, about getting to know them and asking questions about their career. Another option is an advocate. So, an advocate, like a mentor, is likely to be someone further along in their career path than you. However, unlike a mentor who is there to impart knowledge, an advocate will take concrete actions to help your career progress. Now, for example, they may be able to recommend you for a job, promotion, or a raise. So, mentors and advocates will both serve important roles in your growing career. The big difference between a mentor and an advocate is that the mentor helps you grow by imparting knowledge, while advocates act on your behalf. So, take a few moments to think about whether you have any mentors or advocates in your career right now, and where you may identify people who can serve in that role. So now let's talk about board of directors. So companies have advisory boards called boards of directors. Board of directors is a group of industry experts that guide important decisions and steer a company through difficult times as well as good ones. Now, as you build your career and professional brand, you may also benefit by it from creating your own board of directors. Now, that is a group of people who can steer your decision-making process, introduce you to people, give great advice, or just help talk things through. So rather than a company board of directors, which has formal meetings, your board could be a group of mentors, friends, or colleagues with expertise in your field or similar fields, whose opinions you trust. And rather than meeting as a group, you can call them individually when you when you need help with a specific issue. Now, unlike mentors and advocates, your boards of directors do not have to have consistent, or let me back up. Unlike your mentors and advocates, your boards of directors does not have to consist solely of people who have more career experience than you. It can include peers who are maybe newer into the career or at the same stage, but most importantly, they have opinions that you can trust. So try to create a group of people with diverse perspectives and experiences who will encourage you to take steps you otherwise may not think to take. You may find some of your friends from school or even your professors winding up serving in these roles. You're also likely to meet mentors and colleagues you trust and admire as you build your career. Okay, so let's talk about everything we talked about today. So today you took the first steps towards building your professional brand. We started by discussing how companies use branding to build their reputations and learn how individuals can build their own professional brand to take their careers to the next level. You defined your brand statement and figured out how to respond when someone asks you the dreaded "tell me about yourself" question in an interview, meeting, or networking setting. Then we talked about ways you can build your online presence and talked about strategies for expanding your reach through content creation. Now, finally, we looked at strategies for expanding your own network. We discussed finding mentors and advocates, and you started thinking about your potential new board of directors. Now, this workshop is just the beginning. Now that you know how to start thinking about your brand, here are some actions. Here are some action steps that you can take. Now, first, incorporate your brand into your professional portfolio or your personal marketing materials, like your resume and social media posts. Now, if your resume has a summary statement, make sure it reflects your career story and the skills, qualities, and talents that you brainstormed earlier. You can also experiment with design elements like word choice that fit your brand. Just make sure that your resume remains easy and clear to read and applicant tracking system compliant. Secondly, start building your brand online. Search for yourself online. If you find anything that feels off-brand that you wouldn't want a potential employer or colleague to see, address it if you can. Pick one or two social media platforms to begin posting and share on brand content regularly. And lastly, build your network. Find mentors, advocates, and people who you can appoint to your personal board of directors. Your network will naturally grow as you spend more time pursuing your career and other interests. So, lastly, take one moment to think about all the topics we covered today, which we covered a lot in a brief period of time. Now, can you write down at least one thing that you will do next, the start of your action plan? Thank you so much for attending this workshop.